Hello everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Welcome in our day 4 SC100 Microsoft Cybersecurity Architect training. My name is Saurabh Srivastava, and we are discussing about SC100 topics since very first day, and today is day 4. So let's see what we have in today's agenda. Before starting with day 4, let's see what we have covered in day 3. A quick recap what we have completed. So here in day 3, we completed some discussions moving around what we have in design solutions for securing Microsoft 365. We're talking about what we have in Microsoft Defender XDR solution, where we have a Defender product family, including Microsoft Defender for Office 365, Defender for Cloud Apps, Defender for Endpoint, Defender for Identity, Microsoft Defender Vulnerability Management. These all things we have in this Microsoft Defender XDR solution. Then we're talking about what kind of options we have in Microsoft Purview, especially for data security. We're also discussing about Microsoft Copilot. If you are using Microsoft Copilot in security, what kind of different experience we have, like a standard experience, or basically standalone experience, or embedded experience. So these are different topics we were discussing, including what comes in application security. In application security, we're discussing about what kind of different security approach we follow in application development life cycle. What comes in threat modeling. We were also discussing about design a solution for API management and security. Also, we were discussing about if you want to protect my applications, so what we have in WAF, Web Application Firewall, that we can use in application gateway and also in front door solution. So different topics we were discussing, and I recommended to complete this homework activity as well. Now, this homework activity, we have different kind of topics related to data security, related to purview, classification, also encrypting data at rest in transit, including key vault, what we have in data security in Azure workload, Defender for storage, Defender for SQL, and what kind of components you can see in these Defender components. They're different things. This was dedicated to your homework activity, and I'm pretty much sure you have already completed this homework activity as well. All right, so let's move ahead. What we have in day 4. In day 4, we'll talk about these different topics. Specify requirements for securing SaaS, PaaS, and IaaS services. So here we talk about what kind of options we have for securing SaaS, PaaS, and IaaS services, what kind of security baseline for IoT workload we have, specify requirements for web workloads, securing AI services, and specify security requirements for container orchestration. These are different kind of topics that we will cover. Now, what other things we have? We have another topic, design solutions for security posture management in hybrid and multi-cloud environment. Now here we have topic, we'll talk about introduction to hybrid and multi-cloud environment, posture evaluation with MCSB. Now again, we have MCSB here, Microsoft Cloud Security Benchmark. Now here, we will also discuss about what kind of posture management and workload protection we have in MDC, because MCSB is a part of this MDC here. Evaluate and design cloud security posture solution for Defender for Cloud, that we'll discuss here. We'll also talk about design a solution for integrating hybrid and multi-cloud environment by using Azure Arc. Also, we'll talk about what comes in external attack surface management, EASM, and posture management using exposure management attack paths. Now, now here we have some homework activity as well. So here in homework, again, we have two main topics: design solutions for securing server and client endpoints. And here we see different topics that you will be completing in your homework activity that is related to introduction to endpoint security, specifies server security requirements, and some topics moving around mobile devices and clients requirements, what comes in Intune to specify security baseline, what we have in securing remote access, also local admin password solution labs, what is labs, how we can, what kind of benefits we get here, also securing operation technology OT and industrial control system ICS by using Microsoft Defender for IoT options. This is in the first. And the second, evaluate solution for network security and security service edge SSE. In this, you will be exploring topic moving around network design to align with security requirements and best practices. You'll also see topic related to Microsoft Intra Global Secure Access for secure communication. Also, you will see what we have in Microsoft Intra Internet Access for Microsoft services, including cross-tenant configurations and other different settings. And here, you have some lab activities as well, some hands-on activities if you want to perform. It's up to you. And these related lab exercises steps you can find in GitHub. It's very easy. You can search for SC100 space GitHub, and you will get the first link where you will have the instructions related to these steps. So if you want to perform this activity manually, you can go for this option. So this is something that what we have in homework activity that you have to complete. Now, so let's see, let's start with what we have in day 4, the discussion. And today we will complete all the discussions, and tomorrow in our day 5, we'll go for the exam prep session. Now, so here again, we are learning under this learning part, design security solutions for infrastructure. And this is the topic, specify requirements for securing SaaS, PaaS, and IaaS services. Here, let's see what we have. When we talk about securing SaaS, PaaS, and IaaS, first of all, we have to understand SaaS, PaaS, and IaaS services, these are, you can say, divided in a shared responsibility model. So if you talk about any infrastructure, there may be different kind of responsibility, especially related to the management, starting from physical data center, physical network, physical host, operating system, network control, applications, identity and directory infrastructure, accounts and identities, devices, like if you're managing devices, mobiles and PC, and information and data, if you want to protect, if you want to manage. So when you are working or when you are controlling all these things in your on-prem, you will have full control on all these. It means you will be responsible for everything, starting from physical data center to physical network to physical host and to many other different options here. You'll have full control. Now, when we move towards cloud, in cloud we have IaaS, PaaS, and SaaS services. So when we talk about IaaS services, here we have a clear separation. Some responsibilities are clearly with Microsoft and some responsibility you have with you as customer. So in infrastructure as a service, where you deploy resources like virtual machine, load balancer, storage, and many other, in this physical data center, physical network, physical host will be managed by Microsoft. And other components like operating system, network controls, applications, identity and directory infrastructure, accounts and identity, devices, information and data. These all things will be in your control because you are managing your virtual machines, operating system, load balancer, storage, everything you are managing. So for the backend components like physical host, physical network, and physical data center, these all things you will be managing. Oh, sorry, not you, but Microsoft will be managing. And you as a customer, you'll be managing all these other components here. Now, when we move towards PaaS, platform as a service, in platform as a service, you see, apart from these options where we have physical data center, physical network, physical host, and operating system, we have shared responsibility here between customer and Microsoft. So generally we use PaaS for application deployment. We bring our own code here, we deploy applications in Azure Application Services, and we present these applications to our customer, to our employees, depending on where I want to publish it. So definitely for the core component, Microsoft is handling physical data center, physical network, physical host here, including operating system. But for network control, some control will be already configured by Microsoft and some control you can configure based on your deployment. Then we have applications. Now in applications, some control will be performed or configured by Microsoft and some application control you as a customer, you will be configuring it. Again, for identity and directory infrastructure, some control will be already there from Microsoft like Intra ID, and you as customer, you will be managing, creating identity and managing identities here in this identity infrastructure. But other like accounts and identities, manipulations, configuring, or maybe for directory synchronizations, these all things you will have in your hands, devices management, infrastructure and data management. These all things you will have in your hands as customer. In SaaS, software as a service, for example, Microsoft 365, where you have Outlook, Teams, OneDrive, and all these applications. In this, most of the components will be fully managed by Microsoft, like physical data center, physical network, physical host, operating system, network control, applications. And this control is specifically for identity and directory. And this is something here. This will be shared between Microsoft and customer. Now, here, apart from this one, other components will be managed by customer, like informations and data, devices, accounts, and identities that comes under in your customer's responsibility. So this shared responsibility model is very helpful, where some kind of components will be managed by Microsoft, some kind of components will be managed by user or the customer. And this will be very helpful in terms of cost as well. Like if you talk about on-prem, where you have all the controls in your hand, in customer's hand, this will be very costly solution. So basically here we have a very simple rule. The more control you want in your hand, the more you have to pay. In on-prem, you have everything in your control. You have to pay a lot of things, you have to invest a lot for physical data center, physical network, physical host, everything you have to implement. In IS, we have some controls and some in Microsoft. So definitely in comparison to on-prem, in cloud, we will pay less. In PaaS, we have more control in Microsoft side and less control in customer side. We will definitely pay less in comparison to IaaS. And in SaaS, because we are only using the services and most of the control we see in Microsoft side. So here we pay very less, and this will be very cost effective. So this shared responsibility model is very helpful actually. Now, if we move to the next, you can see in IaaS security what we have. In IaaS security, we consider many things under security consideration. Is like protecting VM by using authentication and access control. If you're creating VM virtual machines, so you can use strong authentication options using intra ID. You can enable intra ID based authentication and access for that VM instead of using a local admin ID and password. You can also implement solution to protect against malware. So Microsoft Defender antivirus program that should be installed inside that VM. Manage your VM security posture. So in VM, we may have different kind of challenges or configuration related issues. So what we can do in this case? Definitely, we can consider using Microsoft Defender for Cloud. And that Defender for Cloud will help you to provide different kind of security posture assessment recommendations for configurations, wrong configurations, if you have any. We can consider encrypting your virtual hard disks file. What virtual hard disks you are using in virtual machine, virtual hard disks you can encrypt using different kind of encryption mechanism. We have storage encryption that we can use that we have Microsoft managed key, customer managed keys that we can use. We can also use multiple VM for better availability. If you are using VM for your production workload, it may be possible that that VM is a single VM and we have challenge that VM is a single point of failure. So you can use multi-VM environment as a kind of high availability design. So in case if one VM is going down, so other VMs will provide you services and keep your business running. Then we have manage your VM updates. Keep updating your VM for security updates or KB article patches. So your VM will be updated and safe against different kind of vulnerabilities or attack patterns. Also consider monitor VM performance. If your VM performance is maybe going down or struggling because of the workload increased, because of maybe something is that is maybe over time, your VM is not capable to handle hundreds of requests. So in that case, you can plan for extending number of VM or maybe enhancing the VM capability. Also, you can restrict direct internet connectivity. We have other ways how we can present VM access to outside requests, but directly enabling any kind of public IP to VM, that is not recommended. These are some guidelines what we see in infrastructure as a service security. We have similar guidelines for platform as a service security. So for platform as a service security, you can see these are different kind of guidelines that we can follow. What we have, let's see. So for platform as a service, here You can see you can adopt a policy of identity as the primary security perimeter. We should always follow a kind of identity design, identity solution that would be associated to my platform as a service component. I can use intra ID, or I have other options. I can use third-party identity solution, like using Microsoft, Google, Apple ID, Facebook ID. These things we can also consider in platform as a service component. But at least there should be one. If possible, develop on Azure App Services. Because Azure App Service is our own native solution. So if you're going to develop something, develop any application on it, definitely you will get lots of benefits, monitoring, and native security options. Don't forget to install a web application firewall, maybe using Azure Application Gateway or using Front Door. Definitely consider using web application firewall for application security. Monitor the performance of your application. Monitoring the performance of your application is very important. If you are not monitoring the performance of your application, it means your application will not, it's not something that application will not work properly. But application will be, you can say, this will be key working, and over time, if you're not monitoring it, you may be missing with some kind of important updates, important links, and maybe important updates, important informations and logs that may be helpful if you want to tune the application. So these are different things that what we see in monitoring these kind of applications. Now, here use threat modeling during app design. Now here, if you're going to use threat modeling options, definitely you can go for, you can say, you can create a safe application code that you can deploy in your, you can say, application deployment. And here, so threat modeling is very important. Starting from code deployment to multi-phase code deployment, where you have different kind of phases like plan and build, then testing phase, then moving towards any kind of, you can say, production environment. So during the app designing, threat modeling is very important. You can use different kind of threat modeling approach like OWASP or Asteroid that we were talking about in our previous discussions that you can consider here. Now, cloud service extended support. Now, when we talk about cloud service extended support, what we get? Here, we can get Microsoft extended support for these. Now here, this you can consider like getting the support from Microsoft for different kind of services, like Defender for Cloud and many other things that you can consider using it here. Then we have DDoS protection. Now in DDoS, we have denial of service protection available. In DDoS, we have this solution available that we can add as a kind of service. We have to pay for that. It's a kind of subscription-based service. You can use this DDoS protection to attach to your application services. Now next, perform security penetration testing. This is very important. If you want to perform pen testing, this is you can say this is a very important consideration. If you are not performing pen testing for your applications, it may be possible that your application is not production ready. Maybe when you expose your application to the internet, to the different kind of employees or towards any kind of business goal, you may see some kind of attack patterns. So pen testing is very important. And this should be at least in your you can say deployment, in production, and in your operational phase, in your post-deployment phase as well. And generally, red team, they perform these kind of activities. Red team in a company, or maybe you can say a pen testing team, they perform this activity in organization. Now, what next we have in this? Now here, when we talk about security baseline for IoT workload, IoT is a very important thing that is becoming very popular now these days. We are seeing IoT devices almost everywhere. So when we talk about Internet of Things devices, first of all, what are these? IoT devices are like a small kind of sensors, small devices where they have sensors, and generally they are working without any kind of human interaction. So IoT devices are generally not the mobile applications, not the web applications, but these are often, we can say, embedded system with no human operator involved in this. This can be deployed in remote locations where physical access is maybe expensive, not possible, or maybe not feasible. We can deploy these kind of embedded devices, IoT devices, and they will start collecting the data, sensors, and sending back to any kind of IoT management application, where we can collect data and we can act on it based on collected informations. It may be possible this is only reachable through a solution in the backend. So the company who is providing you IoT device, they will be also providing you application backend as well, where all the data will be collected. Also, this might have limited power and processing resources, maybe intermittent, slow, or expensive network connectivity, and might need to use proprietary custom or industry specific application protocol. Now, these days, we are seeing IoT devices almost everywhere. It's starting from industry, like manufacturing industry, to medical sciences, to home appliances, to automotive industry, everywhere. We are seeing these kind of IoT devices are being used. Now here, when we are using it, there are fair chances that these devices may be vulnerable. Hackers and attackers, they can directly target these kind of devices as well. And when they target these devices, manipulating the data, what these IoT devices are sending, will be a very serious risk. So for this, what we have? We use Azure IoT Hub. What is Azure IoT Hub? Azure IoT Hub is a kind of a mid-tier element between IoT devices and the IoT application. This will be staying in between these two. And this will be a kind of hub for communication. This works as a message hub between applications and the device. This can scale up to millions of simultaneous connections. This can host millions of IoT devices at a time. And this is important that how you are going to add these IoT devices to IoT Hub. For authentication, they can use any kind of certificate-based or any kind of token-based authentication mechanism. Also, this Azure IoT Hub can provide you a TLS-based secure communication between devices and this IoT Hub for better security. And basis on that, what we can do, what kind of message we are processing under this message hub, we can use monitoring and we can use Microsoft Defender for IoT to analyze suspicious activities, because the messages from devices is flowing through IoT hub to the IoT application. In between, we can monitor, we can use Defender for IoT to detect malicious signals, malicious behavior, and we will see how we can resolve these issues. So this is very important. So IoT Hub, Azure IoT Hub gives you a control plane, not control, but you can say a management plane where you can monitor and you can apply Defender for IoT capabilities. Now, what next we see here? So in IoT Hub, security baseline controls and guidance, we have different kind of guidance in different kind of sections. So in IoT device, IoT Hub, and IoT application-based design, in networking, we can plan for Azure Private Link, and we can disable public network access. Wherever is possible, disable public network access, because public network access will be a vulnerable thing to manipulate devices and communication messages easily. Now, next in identity, what kind of recommendations we see here? In identity, local authentication method for data plane access would be helpful. Managed identities we can consider, service principal we can consider, and conditional access for data plane where data is being accessed. That would be helpful. We should consider these options. In privileged access for all the data plane where data is going to be accessed by maybe any application or services related to IoT devices, RBAC using Azure role-based access control will give you additional security. For data protection, we can use Key Vault for key management, for secrets, for passwords. We should consider using Key Vault. For asset management, if you want to manage assets, resources, and you want to control them using Azure policies, in this situation, you can use Azure policy implementations to control your resources for following the regulatory and compliance requirements. Now, what other things we see? For logging and threat detections, we should have monitoring service on, logging service on to collect the different events and logging behavior. These are different kind of guidelines, different kind of considerations that we should have, that we can consider in IoT Hub security. Now, moving to the next, specify security requirements for web workloads. What we see in this, let's see. So when we talk about web workloads, generally we deploy our web workload in Azure Application Services. So Azure App Service is something where we can host our any kind of application, web application, mobile application, REST APIs, mobile backends. These all things we can host in Azure App Services. In Azure App Service, we can utilize Microsoft Defender for App Services. This is the part of Microsoft Defender for Cloud. So Microsoft Defender for Cloud gives you other Defender services. That gives you Defender for Server, Defender for App Services, Defender for Storage, Defender for Database, Defender for Container, Defender for AI Services. Many different things we see under Defender for Cloud. Defender for App Service is one of them. So when you have this, we can enhance security for my Azure App Services. This will give you security recommendations. This will assess the security related to your app service deployment. And this will give you recommendation to enhance security posture. Some common guidelines that what we should follow is ensure that you secure your application with HTTPS. Wherever is possible, use HTTPS-based service connection. That should be only accepted. You can consider disabling insecure protocols. Like HTTP is a kind of insecure protocol. Disable it. Create static IP restrictions. You can consider restricting any static IP because static IP may be coming under any kind of social engineering, tracking. This would be a kind of fixed entry. If you go for dynamic, it would be a kind of challenging for any kind of hacker attacker to track the behavior. Also enable client authentication and authorization is very important. Do not store application secrets inside the application. You can consider using Key Vault. Always try to implement network isolation. Now, apart from this, if we are using Microsoft Defender for app services, what we see? We see security assessment and threat detections that will give you different kind of recommendations, what you can implement in order to be more, you can say, secure and compliant. These are some recommendations that we should follow. Now, when we move towards securing AI services, what other recommendations we have? Let's see. And this, when we talk about securing AI services, what comes in picture here? Especially when we talk about AI services, we are talking about Azure OpenAI services here. So for that, we have confidentiality related, integrity related, and availability related recommendations. What we have in this, if you are uploading training data, basically we upload training data in OpenAI services to get trained on different kind of data to answer different kind of prompts, to answer different kind of requests. So if you're uploading training data, use customer managed key rotations, and then delete training, validation, and training results data. If once your training data is used, you can remove it. Guard against exfiltrations by limiting the outbound URLs. These are some kind of considerations that we keep in mind while dealing with Azure OpenAI services. Then we have integrity. In integrity, we can implement access control to authenticate and authorize access using least privilege with individual identities instead of keys, and also implement jailbreak risk detections to safeguard against prompt injection attacks. You can see this is presenting what we can consider here. Implementing jailbreak, risk detections, safeguard against prompt injections. These things are very much helpful when you are considering security around OpenAI. Now in availability options, considerations are use control to prevent attacks that exhaust module uses. In OpenAI, we have module quota. That quota we use for, you can say, performing activities for processing. If we have these kind of attacks where that attack is going to exhaust the complete quota usage, in this case, you will not have anything left to process AI related capabilities and activities. You can use control system to prevent these kind of attacks where these module usage will not be highly utilized. We may have some detections here that will detect high utilization. You can also isolate that service on a network, so this will not spread these things to other network in your cloud environment. In case if your service is publicly available, use a gateway to block abuse with routing or throttling. A gateway in front of the service will be always helpful. That will prevent DOS attack, that will prevent routing and throttling attacks. So these are considerations that we can keep in mind for securing the AI services. These are not the complete list. There would be more recommendations. So for more ideas, more recommendations, you can check Microsoft documentation for securing AI services. Now, what next we have in this? Now we have the next main topic, design solutions for security posture management in hybrid and multi-cloud environments. So here, what we have, let's see. So in this, the first topic is introduction to hybrid and multi-cloud environments. In this, we all know that what comes in hybrid cloud, what comes in multi-cloud. So hybrid cloud is a combination of private cloud, especially the on-prem infrastructure, with public cloud, where we have computing, networking, storage services provided by any cloud provider. When we combine these two, we get hybrid cloud design available, and that we can utilize for many different kind of solutions and services for coexistence, for migration. Now we also see that we have multi-cloud environment. In multi-cloud, we are talking about multiple cloud computing provider, like using AWS, using Azure, using GCP together. So this kind of possibilities also we have, where we have some services running on maybe Azure, something running on AWS, something running on GCP, and they are working together. That may be a multi-cloud environment. So if you are going for this, what kind of challenges we have? In these challenges, we see control related to infrastructure and application visibility. These challenges we see. Also integrating on-premises policies and updates with cloud infrastructure sometimes is not very easy. Unifying development practices. Also manage security posture without heavily modifying current operation. These are different kind of challenges that what we see in multi-cloud and hybrid cloud environment. Now, so what we see, what kind of solutions, what kind of options we have in this? So when we talk about posture evaluation with MCSB, what MCSB gives you? Microsoft Cloud Security Benchmark gives you complete organization assessment based on what kind of current configuration you have related to different kind of control domain that we use. And sorry, so in this, MCSB gives you these kind of different recommendations that we can consider, we can look into this. Like here, if you see this network security, this is representing, like in this virtual machine, we have some challenges, especially related to this network security related control domain options. So we can go for this, we can see what is missing, what kind of challenges we have, and we can resolve this to enhance more security in my organization. So we can follow the guidelines, the guidance, what we see here. And the good thing is this assessment is automatic. You don't need to do it manually. So we can follow security controls from MCSB for posture and vulnerability management. So definitely what it does, this defines and establishes secure configurations. We can audit and enforce secure configurations here, what is missing, what is not there, or we can add multiple other different compliance requirements. Also, we can define and establish secure configurations for compute resources. Here we have options that we can add different kind of other plans, like for server, for storage, for containers, for different other things. So different benefits we get. We can perform vulnerability assessments. We can go for rapidly and automatically remediate vulnerabilities. These are different benefits we get here. So this is important to check these options on regular basis. And if you are checking it, if you're seeing some kind of recommendations we have, some kind of challenges we have, resolving this will be enhancing your compliance and security over time. But here we have to understand this Microsoft Cloud Security benchmark is not indicating the overall compliance status, because this is not covering all controls from any regulations. So sometimes you have to look into some regulations from, maybe if you are in a cloud environment, so you can see some regulations from M365, some regulations from this MCSB in this MDC. So we have to look into different places as well. Now, moving towards more. So overview of integrated posture management and workload protection with Microsoft Defender for Cloud, what we see in this. Let's talk about some more related to MDC. So Microsoft Defender for Cloud, this is basically gives you different kind of services. This gives you mainly two types of components, two types of, you can say, features. One is CWP, Cloud Workload Protection, and you get, you can say, first of all, in the Cloud Workload Protection, what we see, you have Azure, and then you have different kind of cloud workloads like server. Then you have storage. You have components like container. These are different kind of workload protection that you see in this kind of CWP. And this is the core component, what we see. Apart from that, we can say ESM, we get DevOps related security, we can add multiple cloud environment. We also configure security posture management. So posture management and also the cloud workload protection. These are two main things that we see in your Defender for Cloud capabilities. So CSPM, Cloud Security Posture Management, and CWP, Cloud Workload Protection. These are two main things that what we see in MDC. But this is good for unifying the management in one place for multi-cloud environment like Azure, AWS, Google Cloud Platform, on-prem, also DevOps environment like GitHub, Azure repositories. We can go for consolidating all these things in one place. So this is a very good solution when you are looking for how we can check regulatory standards and benchmarks. you see these kind of recommendations, what you see on a screen. So this provides you, like in Microsoft Defender for Cloud, policies and initiatives are how Defender for Cloud assesses the security posture and compliance. So this assesses your environment, gives you the benchmark here. Also, this cloud security benchmark recommendations you can find here. But apart from that, we get other benefits. So what we have in that, let's see. Now here, when you plan Defender for cloud deployments, there are some key areas that you can consider. So first of all, security roles and access control options. You can use Defender or MDC to perform different security related tasks that you can keep in mind. You can create security policies, you can follow the recommendations. These recommendations can be implemented to enhance cloud workload protection and posture. MDC, Microsoft Defender for Cloud, is using log analytics workspace to store the data, what is being collected from different places. And also it uses log analytics agent, LA agent, and Azure monitoring agent to collect security data from virtual machines, or even from, if you're going to connect any kind of on-prem environment. For on-prem, this is using these kind of log analytics agents. We have to install these agents to our on-prem workload, to our virtual machine workload, and they will be keep sending informations about what kind of posture we have related to that VM or the on-prem infrastructure. And this will be stored. This all data will be stored in log analytics workspace. So manually installing these agents to your on-prem resources, sometimes this is not very feasible. Now, in this case, we have Azure Arc. When you talk about Azure Arc gives you easy onboarding for your on-prem, for your multi-cloud environment in MDC. So we can use Azure Arc. We can use Azure Arc in my on-prem. We can enable my servers for Azure Arc. And this gives you a centralized management for your multi-cloud environment, for your OT and edge environments, for your on-prem environment. These all things we can manage, or even the DevOps environment, we can manage in one place using Azure Arc. So the good thing is when you add any server under Azure Arc, the agent which collect information about the posture of that machine will be automatically installed. So that is the one thing that you can consider if you want to use Azure Arc. Also, for ongoing security monitoring, we have threat intelligence. The threat intelligence is going to help in recommendations. So these recommendations that we see, threat intelligence helps in enhancing recommendations based on what kind of vulnerabilities or challenges we have related to any kind of resource that is being monitored or assessed by MDC. Also, we get incidents. Defender for cloud, you can detect and alert that if any threat is going to be detected, you can use incident page to resolve, or maybe you can investigate, maybe automate that investigation or any remediation activities. These are different considerations that what we have in Defender for Cloud that we should keep in mind. Now, what next we have? Evaluate and design cloud security posture solution with Defender for Cloud. And this, as I was talking about, Microsoft Defender for Cloud gives you two main features: CSPM, Cloud Security Posture Management, and CWP, cloud workload protection. So when we talk about CSPM, there are many different capabilities that comes under CSPM free plan, and many comes under Defender CSPM specific plan. So we have two plans available in CSPM, the free version and also the Defender CSPM plan that you have to pay. So in a free capability, what do you get? Centralized policy management. So what problem does it solve? Define the security conditions that you want to maintain across your environment. These all things comes in free, like secure score, summary of the security posture. Yes, it's free. Multi-cloud coverage, connect your multi-cloud environment with agentless method for CSPM insight, and CW protection. Yes, it's free. And cloud security posture management, CSPM, use the dashboard to see weaknesses in your security posture. Yes, it's free. But when we talk about other Defender CSPM option, that Defender CSPM option, for that you have to pay basis on per resource. So we get advanced cloud security posture management with governance, regulatory compliance, and cloud security explorer. These pages will be available in your Defender CSPM feature if you purchase it. Also, you get more capabilities. You see data security posture management, attack path analysis, cloud security explorer, security governance, Microsoft intra permission management. These all things comes under Defender CSPM plan. So when you go to MDC, Microsoft Defender for Cloud, in environment setting, you can see there we have different kind of plans are available. And these plans in CSPM, we get two plans, the free and this Defender CSPM that we can use. So different benefits, different kind of components we see here. Now, so Defender, Microsoft Defender for Cloud, this gives you secure score as well. Now, if you say, if this is the secure score, then what we get secure score in our Microsoft's Azure security portal. If that score is something different. So answer is no. Basically, when we talk about secure score, a secure score that what we see in your security portal, this Microsoft Defender for Cloud helps in enhancing the secure score there. So we can get your security score. We can say this is the place where you can see your security score. We can get through Azure portal security score that I was talking about, REST API, graph. But also you can check your current score here as well. Like my current score is 43%, and there are 1,108 critical recommendations that I should consider to implement. If I implement, definitely we get different kind of, benefits. My security posture will be enhanced, and this security posture, enhanced security posture, will be more towards security. Now, what next? Now evaluate and design cloud workload protection solutions that use Microsoft Defender for Cloud. Now here we're talking about cloud workload protection, CWP. So in CWP, what we have, let's see. In CWP, we have different kind of Defender plans. We have Defender plan for servers, for storage, for SQL, for containers, for, we can say, AI solution, for we have Defender solution for app services. So many different kind of Defender solutions we have under MDC, and these comes under CWP, Cloud Workload Protection. So here, what we get, if you want to protect cloud servers, we have this Defender for Server option. What it does, this gives you security recommendations, regulatory compliance recommendations for your deployed server. The virtual machines related, you can say this provides you recommendations, protect machines against real-time security threats and attacks. This provides actionable recommendations. But definitely you have to switch on this option. By default, these all plans are not enabled. You have to enable it by going to the environment settings in MDC portal. Also, to identify threats to your storage resources, we have Defender for Storage option here. This Defender for Storage is specifically targeting any kind of unauthorized, unusual behavior, unauthorized access to your storage account, or any exploit that is hitting to your storage account. So Defender for Storage will help in these and gives you recommendations. This gives you alerts for these kind of attack patterns. What next? For databases, to protect your entire database estate, we have Defender for database. And in that Defender for database, we have 4 different options. We have Defender for Azure's SQL database. We have Defender for SQL Server on machines, Defender for open source relational database, and Defender for Azure Cosmos DB. These are 4 different options. When you enable that I am looking for database or Defender for database, further, this will ask which one you want to enable, or you want to enable all. So there are 4 different other database options. So Defender for Azure SQL database, Defender for SQL servers on machine, Defender for open source relational database, and Defender for Azure Cosmos DB. Now, what next we have? Protect containers, secure your container option. So for container, if you're deploying container services, so if you want to protect container, we have Defender for container option. This will definitely protect the entire container deployment, including Kubernetes that we use for the orchestration. And if you remember, we were discussing about that Defender for container in our previous discussion. Apart from that, we have other Defender options. For infrastructure, you can say, for infrastructure service insights, what we have. For infrastructure, we have Defender for app services, Defender for Key Vault, Defender for resource manager. These are the places where also we can also see some attack pattern. So to prevent it, what we have? We have Defender for app services that will protect my application, that what we are deploying. Defender for Key Vault is very important because Key Vault may be a soft target for, or maybe a very attractive target for hackers and attackers, because there we have all the secrets and keys safe. And then Defender for resource manager that is a mid-tier element between your Azure interfaces like PowerShell, Azure Portal, and the backend data centers where actual virtual machines or storage are working. So when you send any request like create VM, your request goes to the orchestration connects to the resource manager, and then resource manager connects or execute that kind of request to the backend data center in physical. Suppose somebody is trying to attack to resource manager, that is a control mid-tier element. If this is getting impacted, in that case, entire Azure environment will be impacted as well. So we have Defender for Resource Manager that is going to help you protecting your infrastructure services. Now, what next? To protect, detect for my, especially for my API services, if you want to gain visibility that what kind of business critical API you have, what kind of challenges, issues we have, how we can fix vulnerabilities in that, and also detect active real-time threats. For the API related security, we have Defender for APIs. So these are different kind of Defender components that what we have. And in all the plans, we get security alerts and security incident. That would be available, this will be raised. Now, good thing is we can connect this MDC, Microsoft Defender for Cloud, to my SIEM solution. We can route these kind of incident and alerts to my Microsoft Sentinel, SIEM, SOAR, and these kind of, you can say, maybe if you want to send this to a third-party solution, you can do it. But these security alerts and incident we get in both kind of places, in alerts and incidents. Now, so you can see here, when we talk about Defender for server deployment, if you are using foundational CSPM, what is in free, you can definitely, you'll be able to add third-party cloud components, and you will have some simple thing like recommendations you will find, like anti-malware should be enabled, endpoint protection should be there, OS baseline recommendations, system updates. Now, when you start protecting, you should plan for enabling Defender for server options. There are mainly two plans. Defender for server plan 1, that is in $5 per server or per billable server, you can say, per month. And another one is advanced plan 2 with lots of features that comes under $15 per server per month billing. So if you are planning for advanced security, advanced detections, you should plan for Defender for server plan 2 if you want. Also, this protects your AWS and GCP machines. So considering or adding the Azure Arc related management, we can bring AWS and GCP machines in my Microsoft Defender for Cloud, and we can detect vulnerabilities for these third-party cloud resources as well. We can also onboard my on-prem resources, on-prem VM using Azure Arc, and we can deploy agent automatically using auto provisioning options that I was talking about. And in this way, definitely we can protect our server workloads. Now, what other considerations we have in this MDC? Let's see. We have Defender for app services, as we were talking about. Defender for app service assesses the resource covered by your app service plan and generates security recommendations. Also, this will be providing security recommendations and real-time alert generations if you are going to run application services, or maybe application and application services, or maybe any VM instance you are running, VM instance that is running your app service that is vulnerable. Because in the backend, actually the app service what we are using, this app service is running on any kind of backend VM instance that is hidden. So this will protect, this will monitor the app service environment, gives you protection not only for app services, but the underlying VM or whatever the sandbox you have in the backend. Also, if you talk about Defender for SQL servers on machine, definitely Microsoft Defender for SQL Server on machine, if you're installing SQL Server on any VM, or you're installing SQL Server in any on-prem VM, or in multi-cloud, that we can protect using Microsoft Defender for SQL servers. Next is, in case of integrating hybrid and multi-cloud environment, we can use Azure Arc. Now, what is Azure Arc? What benefits we get? Let's understand. So here, what is Azure Arc? Azure Arc is a kind of centralized management solution where we can manage Azure resources. We can bring my multi-cloud management, Google Cloud Platform, AWS, Oracle, all these places we can bring in. We can centralize my on-prem deployment, VMware, maybe Azure local instances, System Center Virtual Machine Manager, SCVMM. These all kind of on-prem or maybe hypervisor based, or maybe any kind of Hyper-V based environment that we can bring in this Azure Arc, including operational edge, industrial assets, servers and Kubernetes we can bring in a centralized place for centralized management, where we get unified operations, management, monitoring, security, compliance, governance, everything we get in a centralized plane. So this will be easy management because now we are extending to different fields, different kind of places. It's not something that we are working on a single cloud. We are working on multi-cloud environment, including on-prem, including edge services, industrial locations we want to manage. So we need a centralized place where we can manage all these things together. We have Azure Arc for this. Now, so what we see, Azure Arc gives you this kind of centralized management. So when you are going to enable servers that is Azure Arc enabled, what do you see? First of all, they will have any kind of like log analytics agent automatically installed. And definitely you can connect these agents to any log analytic workspace in MDC that will be collecting the data. So what Azure Arc gives you, Azure Arc unlock new hybrid scenario by enabling new Azure services and management feature on any infrastructure. So definitely this can help you in secure and govern applications, data, cloud-based threat detections, response. This will give you central management of wide range of resources. Virtual machine lifecycle management you will get, RBAC, centralized management, governance. These all things comes in Azure Arc benefits. Now, what other benefits we see? What other different kind of discussions we have in this? Let's understand. Let's see what we have. Now, what is external attack surface management? Let's see. So in external attack surface management, EASM. So basically we have another different Defender product that is similar to Defender for IoT. We have Defender, Microsoft Defender EASM, external attack surface management. And what it does, what is external attack surface? Area of an organization or system open to attack. What it does, Defender EASM discover assets that are related to your known online infrastructure and actively scans these assets to discover new connections over time, looking for vulnerabilities, looking for issues. So sometimes you don't know in your current organization how many different kind of online or open resources we have, or open assets we have. And if you want to secure them, how you know that if these are secure, these are not facing any challenge. So in this situation, for these kind of things, we have Defender ESM available. So this will discover the assets. So discover assets are indexed, classified in your Defender ASM inventory, providing a dynamic record of all web infrastructure under the organization's management. These are different things than what we have here in different benefits we get in this Defender ASM attack surface management. Now, so more capabilities. What we are going to see here, let's understand. So ASM features are discovery and inventory. This will search infrastructure through connections to known legitimate assets to unveil more connections. And this will check what kind of attack surface status we have. Also, we get dashboard. This is designed to give you insights for different risks, different kind of vulnerabilities, also the recommendations. You will filter inventory to surface a specific insight that you are where you're interested. These all things you see in this EASM option as EASM feature. Now, what next we see in this, let's understand. Next is posture management using exposure management attack paths. What kind of discussions we have in this? Let's see. So when we talk about Microsoft Security Exposure Management, here, this is Microsoft Security Exposure Management. This provides a solution where you have a unified view of security posture across company assets and workloads. So we have many different portals. The benefit you get a unified view across organization. This continuously discover assets and workloads to give you what kind of exposure we have right now. You get the inventory. You can visualize, analyze, and manage cross workload attack surfaces. You can investigate. You can also discover and safeguard the critical assets. So security exposure management options you find, you can discover, you can safeguard, or you can decide which all different kind of assets are in the critical, and these are very important. So you can prioritize these critical assets for enhancing security. You can also manage exposure. Security exposure management provides tools to manage security exposure and connect your data. You have different data connectors to integrate different security solutions and data sources in this EASM option in security posture management. So exposure management attack paths, you can see attack path generation that gives you information about, based on attack path on the data collected across assets. This can simulate attack scenarios, identifies vulnerabilities and weaknesses that attacker could exploit. You can see an attack path pattern, the weaknesses, that comes in different color coding, like red, green, yellow. Red is more vulnerable. You can see the attack path in an attack path graph. And this will be very helpful to see a view where I have to focus more, especially for all the attack path components that is in the red color. We get recommendations, how we can implement security recommendations for that, like to mitigate these kind of attack path related risks. Also, we can see choke point identification. This gives you information about what kind of choke points nodes we have that can lead to the multiple attack path flow. Maybe any critical asset that is a central point, and from where we have multiple attack paths are interconnected. So that choke point, that important critical assets, we have to look into. If this is vulnerable, we have to plan for what kind of recommendations we have there, how we can mitigate this issue. Because for any resource, if there are branches in the visualization map, and if the branches are in vulnerable situation, that's okay. But if a centralized asset that is connected to many branches, many different kind of paths or access paths, in that situation, that centralized component should be safe. Also, we can see the blast radius. This allows user to visually explore highest risk path from a choke point. What we can basically implement, what basically we can implement for the choke point, what kind of recommendations we have, how we can enhance security. And we can also see that which is the highest risk path in that in this attack path or the visual diagram. Basis on that, we can analyze if there is any kind of attack pattern. So what would be the blast radius of this attack if someone is going to attack to this kind of resource, which all other resources will be impacted. So in this way, we can calculate, we can see the blast radius as well related to that critical asset, that critical resource. Now, so these are different kind of components, what we were seeing here. Now, because we're talking about lots of related to this Microsoft Defender for Cloud, let me show you something here. What we have, especially related to security and purview related things. So here I have my trial tenant. Just to show you some idea here, what we were talking about in our different past discussions. So if you want to look into Microsoft Defender XDR component, so here we have Microsoft 365 Admin Center. And if I click on security, we get this Microsoft Defender portal. Now let me refresh this once. So this is Microsoft Defender XDR portal, where we have different kind of Defender components like Defender for endpoint, vulnerability management here, Defender for identity. You can see Defender for Office 365 components here, Defender for cloud apps here we have. So if you have to configure these options, we go to these places and configure these settings. Also, I was talking about secure score. A secure score is this is good for any organization where they can see their own security posture. So for that, if you go to exposure management, you see secure score here. And you see we have The current secure score for this trial tenant is 28.17%. And there are 25 different activities to address. Because this is a very new tenant, we don't have enough services configured here. That's why we have this kind of limited options or few recommendations we have. I can click on recommended actions. I can see these recommended actions in ranking. So there are different kind of points and score available here. So what I can do, I can plan for if I want to implement all these recommendations in my organization or not. Like for example, if I want to implement the multi-factor authentication, this should be enabled for all user in my administrative role. Enabling multi-factor authentication for all user. Also, ensure phishing resistant MFA strength is required for administrator. Next is enable Microsoft Intra ID identity protection sign-in risk policy should be there. So when you keep implementing these kind of things, for example, if I'm going to click on this here, I can see which all roles are impacted. And this will protect my organization against which all different kind of attack patterns. In implementation, I can see what are the step-by-step guidance. And once it's implemented, what will happen? Once you configure that this is maybe configured, or you can change the status here if you want. What happens when you configure this? This will automatically detect if this is configured or not. And if this is configured, this will be automatically added in your secure score here. So because this is a new tenant, I'm getting only 25, but it may be possible when I'm going to deploy different services and features in my organization. So this may go to 100, 200, 400 different kind of recommendations related to security options. And then it will go for other categories as well here, like identity, applications, data, many other categories will be listed. Now, apart from this, you see history tab. History tab represents how your score is improving and how this is going down. It depends. Like this is something like 25% score maybe when I created this trial tenant, and with some kind of automation scripts, this has increased this score here. And now based on different kind of configurations in the backend, this is going down, but I can increase this by implementing my recommended actions. Also, we can see metrics and trend. This metrics and trend represents what is your score in this color code and what kind of score we have in other organization where we have similar seats or similar sizing. Other organizations, they're managing 47.22%, and my current organization is 28.17%. It means we should increase our score to be more secure. So with this one, we can track what other organizations are maintaining, where we have similar seats of licenses, similar number of configurations. So we can go for this thing here. This is related to the secure score that we should check on regular basis. Not regular, but you can say maybe on monthly basis. You should come to this place and check what kind of secure score recommendations we have that we should implement. Again, this is not mandatory to implement all. You have to decide which all recommended actions are necessary or maybe compatible to your organization's need. Now, similar to this, if you go to Microsoft Purview, In Microsoft Purview that we open from here, from this admin center, we have Microsoft Purview here. If you go for Purview, let me refresh this page as well, just to refresh my connection. So now here, similar to Secure Score, we have Compliance Manager. Under Solutions, we have Compliance Manager. Compliance Manager gives you compliance score related to your organization. So once you click on Compliance Manager, this will load compliance score here. Let's wait for this. So current score is 57%, and it says because compliance is a kind of shared responsibility between Microsoft and customer, you see here we have 12,438 points in Microsoft responsibility, and they have already implemented all the activities related to this, and they're achieving 12,345 points. Some points are missing that may be either not applicable or not necessary. But from customer perspective, from my tenant perspective, I have option for 9,301 points, and we have achieved only 144 points based on different implementations. So where are the other points? How we can achieve this? For this one, we should click on improvement actions to see what kind of improvement actions are there pending that we can implement. Now here you can see we have 489 items that I can consider to implement. And these all recommendations are related to only one regulation, that is data protection baseline. Only this recommendation. Now Microsoft gives you data protection baseline recommendations that you can implement. 489 items, and every improvement action is including some kind of points here. These points will be added when you configure these settings in your organization. So it depends. It's not again mandatory to implement all, but you can decide which all you want to implement, what you want to consider here, what is more aligned to your company's compliance requirements, and accordingly, you can implement all these or few of them. So the more improvement actions you implement, the more score you'll be getting in this scoring in overview. But question is, if I want to know if my organization is compliant towards PCI DSS or not, can I check here? Answer is no. For that, we have to perform some activity. So first of all, we can go to the regulations to see what different kind of regulations we have. Here we use more than 90 plus regulations, what we have here in this list. So you can see we have recommendations. These are regulations here. PCI DSS, NIST, ISO, and EU related standards, and many other. You can see it's a huge list. Different kind of standards we have here. So basically, if you want to read them, I suggest you can go to Microsoft compliance offering. And here's the website. And you can see the list. We have these different kind of list here that is being used in Azure, Dynamics 365, and Microsoft 365. The global standards, US government standards, industry specific, regional standards. So you can see, you can click on any standard, you can read about, and these are not only that Microsoft has added list here. These different kind of standards, they have already attested, they have already provided certificate to Microsoft for their different kind of testing. So you can click on any to read more on it. For example, I want to know how this ISO 27001 is being used in these different places. I click on this and I can read about here. What is this? How microservices, what different microservices are in scope in ISO 27001. And you can see here we have these different kind of informations. Somewhere here you will find these assessments and reports and the certificate as well that I was talking about. So these things you can read, you can come to this place, you can read more on it if you like to. But here in this, we have these recommendations. And for example, if you talk about PCI DSS, if I go for this, you notice this presents what comes under my action, what I have to implement, and what comes under Microsoft action. Definitely, Microsoft has already implemented, completed its own activity. Let's wait for this. You can see here, these all are the recommendations up to 203 in Microsoft. And in your action as a customer, we have 300 activities. Now, if I want to know that what different kind of activities are there, so we have to, this is one way we can come to this regulation place. We can click on the regulations and you can see it. Or we can go to the assessment. In assessment, I can create assessment for my organization. So click on this and select regulation. Here I can select which I want to add in my improvement actions list. So PCI, I want to go for version 4, save, click next. Assessment name you can add if you like to. Go for next. Microsoft 365 services will be listed here. Go for next, create assessment. Let's wait for this. And here it is. If you click on done, still loading. So you can see here 71% of assessment actions completed. There are Microsoft managed points is 3063. Microsoft has already completed 3027. For you, you have 1, 2, 3, 7, and only 27 points completed by the customer. You can check here your improvement actions. And you can see the points as well. Test status, none. For Microsoft, you can check the status passed, and all these points has been achieved by Microsoft. So good thing, I can go for improvement actions. Now I can select this PCI DSS here. I can click on this and only PCI DSS related assessment I can see. Let's wait for this. If you notice, for data protection baseline, it was 489. But for PCI DSS, for customer, it says you have 73 items that you can complete, you can implement in order to be compliant with PCI DSS. In this way, I can create assessment for any regulations that you want to follow in your organization. So sometimes this is very helpful if you use these options here. It's good that you can go for secure score mechanism here, and you can go to this compliance manager to start with this kind of security and compliance journey. But you can go to Azure portal as well. And Azure portal, you will have Microsoft Defender for Cloud options. Let me show you. Portal.azure.com. So this is my portal.azure.com, and here we have different Defender products. So if I search for Defender, we can see we have Defender EASM, Defender for Cloud, and Microsoft Defender for IoT. These are three Defender things that we find here in Azure portal. We can configure these options. We can configure Defender for Cloud for different kind of CWP, cloud workload protection, and cloud security posture management. We have Defender for IoT, where we can configure Azure IoT Hub options, Defender for ESM, external attack surface management options we have there. So these different things we can configure from Azure side. And if you're looking for other Defender products, so Defender for identity, Defender for endpoint, Defender for Microsoft 365, or Defender for collaboration, and Defender for cloud apps you find here. So these are different Defender components, different Defender options. Now, so this is something that we can consider, we can configure in our infrastructure. If you are working as security architect, you can consider these places to check what kind of security posture and compliance components, compliance manager, compliance posture we can enhance. And also coming to Defender components here in Azure, you can look into what kind of security score you have, what kind of security recommendations you have, and that would be great. So this is something that what we have in this day 4 discussion. And here we have some homework activity that you will complete. In your homework activity, you will perform some activities related to design solutions for securing server and client endpoints here. So introduction to endpoint security, also specify server security requirements, what requirements we have for mobile device and clients. Also, you'll be seeing specify IoT and embedded device security requirements, what options we have for secure remote access options, labs, how we can go for this Windows local admin password solutions, what comes in OT and ICS environment, industrial control system. These all things are very helpful that we can use here, and definitely we can understand related to these topics. We can understand more in this. Also, you'll see for network security, what we have, what comes in SSE, security service edge, what comes in global secure access, how we can configure intra-internet access, intra-private access in this global secure access environment. So these are very interesting topics that you will complete in your homework. And if you're interested, you'll perform these kind of lab activity. So just to give you this idea, for lab activity, you can simply go for GitHub SC 100, and you open this first link. Under instructions, whatever the lab activities we were seeing in our 4-day session, if you click on labs, you see these are some activities here. So again, I will say, because SC100 is designed for, this course is designed for the architects. So you are not going to perform these activities. You're not actually going to configure settings. But if you want to see, so you can go for these activities, these options here. You can click on here and you can go for these different step-by-step guidance. Also, you can go for these different kind of other activities. So if you have any trial account with you that you can use in M365 and in Azure, so you can perform these lab activities. Apart from this, I recommend we have SC100. If you talk about go for exam, you notice we have this official Microsoft SC100 exam page. So here you can go for these self-paced learning. And here, if you go for the first one, security best practices and priorities, click on start, you will notice in the last, you have case study. This case study is very helpful. You can follow these case studies to understand, to enhance your knowledge. You can go for introduction first. Then what is the description for case study? What is the background scenario? This is related to which organization, the diagram, image. Now there will be some questions. Now you will try to answer this for yourself, and then you can check the answer. You can match your answer with the answer given here. So this is going to help you to enhance your knowledge, to enhance your understanding. And this is available for every section in this learning. So this was the first one. When you go for design, security, operations, identity, and compliance capabilities, even here you get case study in the last. If you go for the third one, design solutions for applications and data, and design security solutions for infrastructure, everywhere you get the case study. So if you want to enhance your knowledge, you can also consider this case study for your knowledge. So that's all for this today's discussion. And definitely you can, if I summarize this, what we have covered today. So we covered what we have in specify requirements for securing SaaS, PaaS, and IaaS services, what comes in shared responsibility, what we have in IaaS and PaaS related security recommendations, what we have in IoT services, how we can secure AI services. These all recommendations related to container as well. These are all things we were discussing. Then we started discussing about hybrid and multi-cloud environment, what comes in as MCSV, in Defender for Cloud, what we have in multi-cloud environment using Azure Arc, what comes in EASM, and exposure management attack paths. These are all things we're discussing here in this basically day 4 discussion. So that's all what we have covered. So I would say thank you so much for joining me today. Don't forget to complete the homework activities, and I'll see you in our next session where we have exam prep session. I'll summarize everything first, what we have covered in 4 days. Then we talk about what kind of tips and tricks we have for exam preparation and some question and answer there. So thank you so much once again for joining. Have a nice rest of the day and see you in our next session. Bye-bye.
Technology is moving fast. Closing the skills gap can help your team optimize and stay focused on what's ahead, rather than constantly playing tech catch-up. That's why it's important to keep Microsoft certifications active. Here's everything you need to know about renewing your team's certifications. We have introduced a free certification renewal process for role-based and specialty certifications to help you stay current with skills you need to remain up to date in your job role. Please note that the fundamentals certifications do not expire. In order to renew, you don't need to schedule and take an exam through Pearson VUE. Assessments are shorter than the exam. We encourage you to renew early, as soon as you are eligible. You won't lose time by renewing early, as the extension date is not based on the date that you choose to renew, but 1 year from certification expiration date. To access renewal assessment, you need to connect your certification profile to your Microsoft Learn profile only the first time. Once connected, you don't need to repeat this step in future to access renewal assessments. You can take the assessment as many times as you need. But after the second try, you will need to wait at least 24 hours before your next attempt. Embracing a growth mindset and the need for continuous learning can help you optimize and successfully perform in job roles. With a renewed Microsoft certification, globally recognized and industry-endorsed evidence of mastered real-world skills, you will also be able to demonstrate your proficiency in keeping pace with technology,